the Defibulators. A ritual. Bubble bath, candles, no. A ritual, actually, if there's any ritual, it's just finishing it is the ritual. The first part of it is getting the idea. And those come whenever they come, you know. Whenever I hear something, a phrase, or think of a phrase, or think of an idea, that's the initial, like, spark, you know. And then after that, the rest of writing the song is actually finishing it, doing the work, and getting it done. So that, you know, I've just got to, basically, it's like doing homework or something, you know. There'll be like hundreds of unfinished songs, you know, that if you don't actually finish them. So it's really, I just think of it as a you know, homework or getting it done. He left home and never coming back in. You know, when I first moved to New York, you move like 4 times a year sometimes. And if you get into a new apartment that you know is going to be painted when you're out of there, or you got to repaint it, so you move in, it's got fresh, clean white paint, and you know you can do whatever you want to these walls because when you move out, you're going to have to repaint it. I had a couple places where I would keep like a pencil by the bedside table, and I would make notes on the wall, on that drywall, like fresh paint, white drywall. It's kind of chalky, you know, and a graphite pencil on the drywall. It just feels cool. Feels like, I don't know how to describe it. So it feels like you're doing something, even though it's totally not permanent. It feels like, well, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, you know, writing on the wall. But that's terrifying, actually. I would never want anybody reading any of my journals or going through my journals, and I'm sure a lot of other writers think that. There's so many random things that can be taken out of context, out of your own thought. You know, a phrase that looks ridiculous or maybe offensive or something, and half-written songs. I would be terrified if anybody ever found my journals, which is probably why I shouldn't put my name on this journal. The funny thing about journals, when I look back on my old journals, I like to see, the thing I get most kick out is like the doodles I do on the side. And those random doodles when you're bored or you're stuck on something, or maybe you're on the phone, you know, and you start doodling. And that like says a lot, that can tell you a lot about somebody, you know, at least in that moment, whether it's like an aggressive scribble or like a psychedelic meandering thing or like a whimsical little stick figure or something like that. So I'd be curious to see, you know, what kind of doodles my friends have in their journals. And I think two of the bands that we've toured with that I think are the most creative writers, I think, are Whiskey Gentry out of Atlanta and The Colonel out of Jackson, not Mississippi, Jackson, Tennessee. I used to carry around the little mini notepads, you know. They're about, you know, that size and go in your back pocket. I've collected tons of those over the years. I have a box, like a shoebox full of old notepads like that, so I have tons of those. I remember the first song I ever remember writing, and I might still have it somewhere, you know, maybe in my old house back home in Texas, or my mom might have it with a bunch of random stuff. It was a song I wrote in like 6th grade called Cold. And I thought it was like really serious. It was about how cold the night was, and the protagonist had a jacket and kept tightening the jacket, and the night was getting colder. And he tightened his jacket, and the night kept getting colder. It was ridiculous, but I thought at the time, like, this is good. This is good. Cold. It was called Cold. I remember writing at the top, Cold. Underline it like 4 times. Other than musicians, the songwriters I really like are Roger Miller and Warren Zevon. But yeah, Roger Miller and Warren Zevon, they have a great sense of the absurd, you know, and there's meaning underneath, but a lot of the lyrics are visually absurd, or, you know, situationally absurd, and that's what I like about country music writing, or weird writing, that it can be absurd and have meaning somewhere in there, but maybe not. I don't like putting the meaning right on the surface, you know. I was in London a few years ago. My sister was living over there, and I took a trip to Wales. As I was just kind of checking out Wales, I heard, you know, a lot of good things about it. I started listening to Dylan Thomas, who is, you know, of course, people know Dylan Thomas. I guess if they don't know anything, they know Bob Dylan named himself after Dylan Thomas, so that's all I knew. But, you know, he recorded a lot, and he would give concerts, you know, recitations, and I would listen to his poems, like on the train to Wales, you know, and his writing is just so visually commanding, and it's so, the way he would speak it was like he was giving a sermon, but you know, nothing really made sense. There was just this cascade of consonants and vowels and imagery, and it was just like falling right before you, and it just had such power the way he said it, you know. So he was like the original slam poet, really, you know. If you can listen to this play he did called Undermilk Wood, which was about a small Welsh town, and everybody's doing it. It's like the first Twin Peaks, but it was like set in like 1940s Wales. Just weird characters and all saying weird shit to each other in their weird accents, but it's just it's so melodic, and it's like music, you know, with speech. So